Cathy, if there's one thing we've learned, it's every leader faces crisis. There are moments where, whether it's within the organization they're serving or in their own lives, that there are times when they will face crisis. And in a lot of ways, leadership is about crisis. It's about, to whom do we turn? What action do we take? How do we proceed? The question very often, though, is in those moments of crisis, who do they turn to? And how do we support them best? What thoughts do you offer them in those moments?
Well, in those moments, it's really important, and that's the beauty of Rhapsody, is because I'm also a business coach and a registered psychotherapist, I can see both sides. So if a coach actually refers someone to me, which many of them have, and outside sources as well, I'm able to see and hold a container for them to listen, but also be results oriented so that they feel like they're really moving forward, not only personally, but also with their business or their teams.
When we started Rhapsody, we were focused exclusively on business coaching. And I think it was over time we understood that was insufficient. That there would be conversations where the client would ultimately say, can we close the door and talk about something different today? And I think in the course of that time, we have heard them bring up so many topics, from telling us their relationship has just fallen apart, identified substance abuse, worries about their children, the death of their business partner. In some ways I feel like we've heard it all over the course of that period of time. The kind of support we provide in those moments is suddenly very different. Right? The notion of crisis, for some it's laying off employees, is a full-on crisis for them.
Right.
For others, it's these very personal matters that are showing up and touching every part of their lives. Because you have this capacity to have a foot in both worlds for them, what is the greatest kind of support you're able to provide them in those moments?
Well, I think in those moments, there's a lot of stigma sometimes attached to going for counseling versus coaching. So I think that the umbrella of the Rhapsody team erases that stigma, I think, to a certain extent. I also believe that when Trevor or Eric or Jens refers someone to me, they've already built a trust relationship, right, with these clients. And so it's an easier transition. I'm really easy to talk to, very easy to be comfortable with, which is wonderful. And I think that one of the things I really help people see is that when leaders, it's not if, it's when. It's when they hit the wall, because leaders just work so hard. Business owners, 24/7, and eventually they're going to hit a wall because we're human, right? So it normalizes the fact, right, that yes, welcome to the club, not to minimize the feelings by any means, right? But this happened.
Part of the job of leadership is dealing with crisis.
Right.
So I think you're right, there's an inevitability. We don't know what form it's going to take.
Right.
And I think that's often the part we're looking for guidance around, or we're looking to understand how is it going to show up. But it is part of the role. How does a leader know when they're in crisis?
That's a good question. There's a lot of difference between high stress and burnout. And it's like we all need stress. It's like this human function curve, stress, 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 stress. When you start to get on the high stress top, it's a very slippery slope to burnout. And so if you can catch it, let's say on that, before it's really high stress, then that's wonderful. Because once you go down that slippery slope, will you recover? Absolutely. However, you're at the point where you can't think right, you can't move. It's not like, I just need to get my bum out of bed and go to work. You can't, right? So why not prevent that from happening?
When leaders find themselves in those moments, what's the most important action or step they can take?
Tell someone really close to them, their partner, business partner, their partner in life. Just tell somebody, because then you've got a team behind you. Holding it inside is the worst thing that you could do in those crisis moments. Yeah, there's a lot of suicide, and it can be prevented because you feel so alone. So reach out to somebody.